we can see it.
Okay. Well, now I'm gonna have to go back over because my presenter view is all jacked up now. Okay, so y'all can see, because I'm moving this over here, you can still see the slideshow, right?
No,
No. What?
no.
What did I?
Go back to where you were. We can see,
Okay.
there we can, yes, now.
I moved on. Okay. We just won't be, I don't like being in presentation mode. Okay. Anywho, we're going to go over common program requirements of residency and then institutional requirements. Like I said earlier, Denise shared these slides with me. So if you've been on these previous study sessions, these might be familiar. So we'll be pulling from pages 1 through 69 of the program requirements. With that, there's the oversight, which is the sponsoring institution, participating sites, recruitment resources, other learners, and other care providers. Personnel, who are the program director, faculty, program coordinator, and other program personnel. And then, of course, you have the resident appointments, eligibility requirements, number of residents, and residence transfer. Program letter of agreement. We all know there has to be a PLA between the program and the participating site that governs the relationship between the program and the participating sites. Here's a sample of a PLA. It's got to be renewed every 10 years. You have to identify the faculty members who will be in charge of the educational and supervisory responsibility for the residents. And then, of course, list out the responsibilities and specify the duration. Along with the policy and procedures, you have to also have it signed by your designated institutional officer. And then the program director must submit any additions and deletions of participating sites, routinely providing educational experience required for all residents for 1 month of a full-time equivalent or more through ADS. And then recruitment, which we all are very well aware of, is between the sponsor institution, where you engage in the practices focus on mission-driven, ongoing, systematic recruitment and retention of a diverse and inclusive workforce of residents and fellows if present, faculty members, senior administrative staff members, and other relevant members of the academic community. And then this is just an example of the program profile in ADS. The program's annual evaluation must include an assessment of the program's efforts to recruit and retain a diverse workforce. I know my DIO, they are really tough on us to really spell this out. I'm sure, I don't know if y'all's are become the same way, like you can't be very vague. It has to be very detailed.
Ours have actually been that way, but I don't know if you know what's happened in Florida. They have basically undone all that. So now I don't even know what we're supposed to say because it's against the law for us to do this. So
interesting.
Yeah.
And then we have the resources. The program in partnership with sponsoring institution must ensure the availability of adequate resources for resident education. Oh my, this is terrible not being in presentation mode, y'all. This is driving me nuts. Okay. Below, you'll see a participating site question in ADS. Like which of the following are available within site for the residents? Check all that apply. Okay, so first we come to who approves all complement increases. Does anybody want to give a gander?
The RRC.
Oh, is this not going to let me? Oh, you know what? I had this on like action and it's not going to work. Yes, the RRC. So I have like little action stuff, but it's not going to happen on my PowerPoint. So y'all bear with me. Okay, good job, Terry. All right. The program director has the authority to remove program faculty members from the participation in the residency program education at all sites. True or false? Oh, let me scroll down since I can't click. Who said true? They're correct. I didn't see that. Whoever that was, you were correct.
It was Denise.
Good job. Okay, next we have, who must the program report circumstances when the presence of other learners has interfered with residents' education? 1, DIO, 2, GMEC, 3, RRC, 4, 1 and 2 only, or 5, all the above.
I say 5.
Oh, someone's texting me. Sorry. 5. The correct answer is 1 and
Oh.
2 only, the DIO and GMEC, excuse me.
Interesting.
Yes, this one, what I thought that was, could be either. All right, qualifications of the program director must include specialty expertise and at least blank years of documented educational and or administrative experience or qualifications acceptable to the review committee. Is it 10 years, 3 years, 4 years?
3 years.
3 years.
3.
Correct. At least 3 years.
I
right,
still
back-
remember this stuff.
Yeah. Faculty members must pursue faculty development designed to enhance their skills at least blank. Monthly,
Annually.
bi-weekly, annually, or none of the above.
Annually.
Annually, yeah. All right. Who reviews and approves a program director's nomination? The department, residents, GMEC, all the above, or none of the above?
The
GMAC.
GMAC.
Correct. GMEC. All right. The program director must provide document verification of program completion for all graduating residents within blank days. 30 days. What'd you say?
30 days.
30 days. All right. Next, all faculty members have to complete the annual ACGME faculty survey. True or false?
False.
False. True.
False. Only core faculty. I thought this one is a good reminder of like core and non-core faculty for sure. Okay, do residents who leave the program prior to completion really need timely documentation of their summative evaluation? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it's required. All right. Any non-physician faculty members who participate in residency program education must be approved by the Faculty Affairs, GME, Program Director, Sponsoring Institution, or RRC.
Program director.
That is correct. Final approval of a program director resides with who? The department, residents, RRC, GMEC, or none of the above?
RRC.
RRC.
GMAC.
The review committee.
Oh.
Correct.
Well, I guess the GMAC has to approve them first and then it goes. That's what, because we always talk about them and have to approve them.
See, this is where the trick questions come
Right.
in.
Yes.
Right, Denise?
So ultimately, it's like the ultimate approver, not just the
Right.
interim approver.
That's why I'm gonna highlight, like for sure, because in my mind, like I'm like you think of GMEC, but then I'm like, okay, no, right there, RC. Okay, who selects the core faculty? The
Program
RRC.
director.
Program director.
Yep.
Program director, yeah.
Is the chairman responsible for ensuring the program's compliance with the sponsoring institution policies and procedures on employment and non-discrimination? Yes or no?
If the chairman's the program director.
No, well, that's very good. You're
There you go,
correct. So,
Stephanie.
no, program director.
Right.
All right. Who is the person who manages the day-to-day operations of the program? Stephanie Steiner. I'm just kidding. We all know this answer. Okay.
We know the answer, but yeah.
Yeah. Program coordinator. Okay.
Yeah.
Prior to acceptance of a transferring resident, the program must obtain verification of a summative competency-based performance evaluation, previous educational experiences, both 1 and 2, or no verification is required, or none of the above.
Both 1 and 2.
Yeah,
One and
One.
two.
Number 3.
Yep, 1 and 3. Resident transfers. Okay, next, we're going to institutional application and requirements. I'm not gonna go over all this again. It's just the summary of all that. This just talks about the DIO. They have the authority and responsibility for oversight and admin of the sponsoring institution, ACGME accredited programs. They approve the PLAs, oversee ADS, submission of applications and requests for complement changes. And you must document the SI's GME mission, complete a self-study prior to a 10-year site, and be a voting member of GMEC. And then GMEC requires differ for its sponsoring institutions with one accredited program versus the sponsoring institutions with multiple accredited programs. And they must have one of the following voting members: a DIO, a QI or patient safety officer, representative sample of PDs, peer selected residents, and fellows. And they meet once every quarter at a minimum. And the responsibility of GMEC. Oversight must include A, training well-being, B, annual program evaluations for each program, C, quality of the learning environment at the sponsoring institution in each participating site, implementation of LEAD policies, provision of summary information of patient safety reports to trainees, faculty, etc., or F, all of the above.
F.
F, yep. And then while A does not appear in the requirements and would be an answer, like GMEC is not pretty much written in writing. So B, C, and D would be the correct answer. All right, the GMEC must meet a minimum of blank during the academic year: once, quarterly, every other month, twice, or none of the above.
Quarterly.
Quarterly, correct. All right. Your program was to delete a participating site. Do you need GMEC's approval? True or false?
True.
True. All right. And this is just about the annual institution review. This was very lengthy, I thought, but pretty much GMEC must identify institutional performance indicators for the AIR to include at a minimum the most recent ACGME institutional letter of notification, results of ACGME surveys of residents, fellows, and core faculty members, each of its program ACGME accreditation information, including accreditation and recognition statuses and citations. And the DIO must annually submit a written executive summary of the AIR and have action plans and performance monitoring procedures resulting from that. Okay, and this is about institutional resources, GME infrastructure, program admin, resident fellow forum, resident salary, educational tools, and so forth. So the SI is required to ensure availability of adequate resources for resident and fellow education, with the exception of 1, support for core faculty members, 2, support for program coordinators, 3, call rooms with large screen TVs, 4, dedicated time for PDs.
Three.
Yep. All right. The trainees must have the opportunity to directly raise a concern. This is with the resident fellow forum. An option to conduct their forum without the DIO, faculty members, or other admins present. An option to present concerns that arise from discussions at the forum to the DIO and GMEC. Which of the following tools and services must sponsoring institutions ensure exist? 1, communication resources technology, 2, patient transport services, 3, access to medical literature in electronic or print format, 4, medical records, or 5, all of the above.
All of the above.
Aye.
Patient transport services. Okay.
Yeah, okay, yeah. That's just one of those. I'm gonna
Yeah,
read
it's
them.
just strange, that's all.
Yeah,
Otherwise, they'd make our residents do it. They probably do it, but
yeah. All right, next is the learning and working environment. So the SI is responsible for oversight and documentation of resident and fellow engagement in the following: patient safety, quality improvement, transitions of care, supervision and accountability, clinical experience and education, professionalism and well-being. All right, the sponsoring institution, in partnership with its ACGME accredited programs, must provide access to appropriate tools for self-screening in relation to wellness. True or false?
True.
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 True. Okay, which other, you guys can probably see the answers too, if you're seeing.
They're tiny. We can't see them.
Okay, but still we're learning. Which of the following is the SI not required to provide? Clean, private lactation facilities, security measures in the learning site, free food, sleep, rest facilities, accommodations for disabilities.
Free
Free
food.
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 Free food, which mine asks for free food all the time.
Mine too.
Yes, okay.
All about the food.
The SI partnership with each of its programs must engage in practices that focus on ongoing mission-driven, systematic recruitment and retention of a diverse, inclusive workforce of resident fellows, blah, blah, blah. We already talked about this earlier. So institutional GME policies and procedures has the resident fellow appointments with grievances, vacation leave and absence, clinical educational work hours, substantial disruptions. And then there's the agreement of appointment contract with professional liability insurance, resident services, vendors, closures, and reduction. And then the promotion, appointment, renewal, dismissal with health and disability insurance, supervision, and non-competition. Okay, which of the following is not required to be referenced in a contract agreement of appointment? 1, stipend levels, financial support. 2, health insurance for trainees and dependents. 3, a detailed map of the sponsoring institution. 4, information related to eligibility for board exams. 5, grievance and due process.
I will get.
Detailed
I will
map.
Detailed
get
map.
those.
Map.
Sorry.
Yes, which.
I should only wish that all the questions would be that easy.
Oh, I'm
Gotcha.
nervous. Yes, the
Okay,
map
okay.
isn't required, but.
Okay, will do. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. The
All right,
sponsoring
thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
institution must ensure that each of its programs provide a resident fellow with a written notice of intent when that resident or fellow's agreement will not be renewed, when that resident or fellow will not be promoted to the next level of training, or when that resident and fellow will be dismissed. True or false?
True.
True.
True, correct. All right, if your trainees are required to attend orientation, must the SI provide health insurance during that period? True or false?
False.
False.
False. If the first day of health insurance eligibility is not the first day that they are required to report, then it must be given advanced access to information regarding interim coverage, where they can purchase coverage if desired. Okay, do your residents get 6 weeks of paid medical parental leave?
Yes.
If not, they should or must. Okay. Does your SI physician impairment policy have to be GME specific? True or false?
False. I mean, it can be anything, like either it is GME specific or the institutional, the school policies.
It's false. The sponsoring institution must have a policy, not necessarily GME specific, which addresses physician impairment. That's interesting. So. Okay, if there were to be, say, a global pandemic that disrupted patient care in your sponsoring institution, would your SI be required to have policies and procedures addressing such a situation?
Yes.
True.
We all lived through this, so yes. All right. If your SI were to close, would it be required to let trainees complete training and or assist with placement elsewhere?
Yes.
True or false?
True.
Yeah. Correct. Okay, questions or comments? When was the last time you read your institutional requirements? I haven't read mine ever, so this was a good waking. I just kind of skim read through mine, but Hey, Denise, you can hit the stop share or it's not at the top of my screen. This is why I don't do meetings from home. It's this right here. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, I learned a lot through this, putting these slides together. You know, because I know my institutional requirements are there and on the site, but you know, it's just one of those things I'm like, I'll get to that one day and just have it. So I highly recommend, especially with studying, kind of just browsing that or knowing where to find them.
Well, and I might also say that if you have the opportunity to participate as a member of your GMEC, your IPRC, it is exceptionally helpful. I have been on our IPRC now for 4 years. I was on our GMEC for 2 years. And, you know, you learn a lot just from being in those meetings, and IPRC is pretty active. They do a lot. And so I learned so much by being there, and I highly recommend it. It is definitely the reason I did it is because I knew I would learn things that would be helpful to the program. So don't shy away from joining those committees if you have the opportunity.
I echo that. Great advice, Stephanie. Did you have a question, Catherine?
Did. So I'm a part of the little GME administrator Facebook group, and there are a lot of people who talk about preparing for the TAGME exam. And some people made it sound like you could have a digital version of the training guide up in your web browser. Is that true? And if it's true, can you use the Control F function to find?
Yes.
Okay, I feel like that would be a total game changer, because I know people put the tabs in the book, but if you could just do Control F, it makes me much more confident I can pass this test.
Yeah, no, I am not even going to print it out. I have decided. I'm not a person nowadays who goes through books and papers. And to me, that takes a lot longer than, like you say, Control F and searching to find the section and, you know, then finding the answer. I think I'll be faster that way. But now somebody told me you can only have one screen.
That's correct.
So you have to have, that's the only thing. You have to have a big enough screen that you've got room to have that open and, you know, or whatever. I guess, I don't know if you can have tabs or if it actually just opens at the side of the exam. Yeah, I've never done it, so I don't know.
I have a question that I registered for the exam and then I did get all the details, but I was under the impression that it is at the Prometric or the testing centers I would be taking the exam, but it didn't give me any option to select the testing center.
No, it's all virtual.
Yes.
So we take it on our own computers, either at home or at the office? Okay.
But they do have like requirements. You'll have a proctor and you have to like be the only person in the room. And they have a lot of rules, so you need to be sure to read those all.
Well, I
and
didn't
make
know if they
sure
were scheduling a meeting.
that you followed them.
Yeah, you can't have anything on your walls. You can't have anything on your desk. You have to have a camera that you can physically move around your room, including under your desk. So if you have a great big monitor like I do here, and that's what I use, it was a pain to try to do that. It was terrible. I would not do it again on this giant monitor because I had to literally lift this giant thing and then it was pulling the cords out. It was not good.
Oh, yeah.
I had to do the same thing.
So really, you just need to like go into the bathroom with your computer because there's probably not that much in there. And I don't know, like, where do you go that there's nothing on a wall?
I would go next, if I do this again, I'm going to go to my local library and I'm going to, you know, make sure that I have one of their rooms, which I believe won't have anything on the walls,
Yeah.
and take my laptop with me so that I can easily maneuver it. And there probably won't be more than just a little table. So not like your desk where
Right.
it's hard to
Right.
get under your desk, you know?
Oh God, I got like 6 months worth of snacks under my desk. I can't. And then do you have to take it all like out of the room? Does the room have to be empty then, basically?
Yeah, I had to like take everything. So like this room that was filled with stuff It all had to be put somewhere.
And
What
the
about like
off
stuff in your
desk?
cabinets, in your drawers? Do they make you open those?
No,
No. They didn't have me do that.
but if they can't see you on screen, they will ask you what you're doing. So
Yeah.
at one time I did this because I was looking at my study guide that was on my desk, and she's like, "Where are you?" Under the desk. You want me to show you? Here, I'll lift up my monitor.
But they can have an aerial view of the room, right? Like, we can put a camera which shows the aerial views, like how we do our VD-SIM exams or core exams.
I don't think I know what you're asking.
See, instead of they being so particular, like when we administer the core exam or VD-SIM exam, our tech person installs aerial view of the room in one corner. So the proctor is able to see everything what is happening around, along with the keyboard and the monitor and the person and everything. So I mean that way, like.
Yeah, I don't know, because they have specific software that you're using for the proctoring.
Okay.
I don't know, you'll get a lot of instructions from them regarding what you're allowed to use, what kind of the tech requirements are for it.
Okay. Are there any practice questions available in any resource, like a resource, or it's only the big guide we get?
Yeah, because everything comes from that guide. So basically that guide, that is your practice, because that's where all the questions will come from.
There is a site that has it's like a Quizlet site that has somebody set up just like on their own that has some questions. So, if you're just looking for questions, the idea of what they look like or, what they are, I can't remember. I think I bookmarked it, but I don't really know. I kind of went through it like once or twice and I felt like, okay, I've been there, done that, and I probably won't do it again. So, but you can do like ACGME questions or something, do a search, and I think you'll find it pretty easily.
Okay. Thank you.
I mean, think about it. You guys answered almost all those questions correctly without looking at a study guide, right? So just think of all the questions that you knew the answers to. You'll probably still go back through the study guide and look just to say, oh my gosh, I'm 100% correct. But you knew a lot of them. And really, the test itself is about finding the answers to the questions. You knew a lot of the answers. It'll just be a matter of, oh, I know it's in this section, and all the questions are lumped together by section. So you won't have to go from section to section to section, and you'll just be able to say, oh yeah, I was right, and click the answer. And so you'll be surprised that they give you enough time so that I think somebody figured out you have like 45 seconds or a minute or something for each question. But in reality, you're probably only going to need 15 seconds to answer something. Especially a lot of these that you know. Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt. How many questions is it?
It's 175 for the initial exam. And then I believe it's 100 for the maintenance and certification.
Thank you.
We have different times. Like I think for the initial exam, it's 5 hours. I had, I think, 3 hours to take mine, and I had plenty of time when I was done. And I even selected probably 10 or 15 that I flagged and went back to, and I still had lots of time.
Denise, I do have a question as well. I'm looking here at the TAGME study guide, and I see that there are some links in the study guide. Will we need to also like open up those links and also reference those for the exam as well?
I don't think so, and I don't think you have access, if I'm correct, to like a web browser to
Right,
leave
yeah,
this, leave the testing site.
Okay,
that's the impression I got. You can't, because they don't want you going off
Right.
onto another browser,
Mm,
searching
finding
something,
answers or
finding the
whatever.
answers to the questions.
so anything that's in those links, just while you're studying, pretty much just click them and make references of those in your study guide, pretty much? Okay,
I bet they won't even ask questions about what's included in those links.
okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
I didn't feel like there was anything that I thought seemed unfair. Like the first time I took this exam was many, many years ago, and it was literally on paper, and it was so different and really open to interpretation. Let me just say, I think this is much fairer. This is multiple choice. There was nothing where I went, I'm not sure that was correct. And I had done in the past where someone had asked me if I would like score somebody else's exam. And I was like, I don't think TAGME actually even is providing the correct answer to me as the scorer. So I was really, this is so much better, like 100 times better than it was. You used to have to actually like write essays. They like provided you questions. You wrote these little essays, and basically they would ask you things about the requirement, but you couldn't use the exact words that were in the requirement. So basically you had to provide an answer that was paraphrasing what was in the requirements
Oh,
and
wow.
where you found it, opposed to here where, you know, you have 5 choices and you click which is the best of the 5 choices.
Right.
So it's far better than it was. And this is also not specific to your specialty. It was once upon a time when it first started, but it's not. So it's everybody in every specialty takes the same exam.
I don't know, somebody said they were on that part of that GME group on Facebook, and I don't know if you saw the post this morning where they read, I hadn't read this, and luckily I don't do this, but apparently you're not allowed to read the question out loud while you're sitting at your thing, which I find just kind of ridiculous, to be honest. And they were talking about how kind of it's unfair for certain people, you know, the way they learn is to like verbalize something or whatever. So anyway, just if you're that person who needs to read the question out loud, don't do it. I guess they'll just tell you you can't do it. Surely they won't, you know, kick you out of the exam, but.
And I suspect the level of policing is really dependent on which proctor you get. But honestly, because I saw that too, and somebody said, oh, nobody said a word to me, and I was muttering to myself the entire time.
Right.
And, you know, the other person was like, just felt terrible that they were.
Yeah. In fact, in the Facebook, it is really scary the amount of rules and regulations that are posted, but maybe we need to tell the TAGME organization that if we are trying to look for accessing the information, that's how it should be. So that will encourage more people to at least take the exam and then understand the whole thing rather than making it so restrictive.
I feel like personally, they're making it restrictive so that it's considered legitimate by doctors and high kind of people in a different kind of level. They want this to be considered, you know, as stringent as the urology certification. You know, they want the doctors to accept it. I feel like that must be the motivation for, you know, not just making it like really willy-nilly easy. They can say, yeah, we do all these things and blah, blah, blah. That's just my interpretation of why they're doing that, because they are, I think the goal is to try to elevate this profession. And you will notice more and more programs are starting to require this. And again, if it's something that's required, they're going to want it to be really legitimate. They're not going to want it people to say, oh gosh, anybody could pass that. You know, they want to feel like you have to have the knowledge, or know how to find the answers on the test. So,
Stephanie, they're making it required for us now at UK to take it. It's going to be a requirement for us to stay in the position.
mhm.
Well, I mean, we have 2 years to pass it.
Yeah, I believe it. I think more and more they're doing that, and I don't think it's a bad thing. Especially if they say, okay, you've done that and now you're getting paid appropriately, which I think for me, like taking it, it wouldn't do a thing for me as far as money goes here. It wouldn't do anything, but we're in Florida. We're behind the curve on everything. So, but in a lot of places, I think it's going to be beneficial for coordinators to have it. And again, you want the test to be something that, seems legitimate and doesn't just seem like something that one day somebody dreamed up and it's just easy. It's got to seem at least somewhat challenging.
I'm on the same page as you, Stephanie, in Florida. It's not required for us, and also it doesn't impact our pay or position. But I'm just curious to know how many of your institutions offer funding for this, and how many of you are doing it at a personal expense?
My institution this year, actually, our GME offered to sponsor a number of coordinators. And actually, I did not use it. Dr. Moy sent me the thing about it and suggested, but I had already I have IPRC funds. I get actually a $2,000 a year professional development stipend for being on that committee. And so I had used my funds for that, because I will say, I am not willing to pay out of pocket for something that is directly related to my job here. And I'm sure, I would think, Stephanie, for you guys at UK, you're going to get paid. It's going to be covered by somebody if they're going to.
Yeah, the GME office paid for any coordinator that wanted to take it. They paid for it.
And mine was covered too.
So is anyone here doing it at a personal expense, just out of curiosity? No.
I probably would have, but I didn't. I mean, honestly, I think most departments can swing with $300, kind of the least they can do for somebody that's keeping their program alive and kicking. I'm just curious, will UK dismiss people if they don't pass it?
They don't. What happens is they started this new, it's kind of like a tier. They're trying to do this. Their reasoning for doing this was because we keep losing so many coordinators and for retention. So they're having like a program coordinator, then a program manager, and a senior program manager. And then to get into those levels, you have to be TAGME certified. So I've got the years of experience, but I don't have the TAGME to get to the senior program level. So to move to that, I have to have TAGME certified. But if I don't pass it within 2 years, then they can move me back down to a lower level if I don't pass it.
So see, I think that's great, because here we have the 3 tiers too, but I can't move up to the 3rd tier, even though I'm probably the longest acting coordinator in this institution, because I only supervise one person, and to be in the next tier, you have to supervise 2.
That's why they did this, because currently I wouldn't be eligible because I don't supervise anybody. So that's why they did this, because people were getting annoyed and leaving because they're like, we can't move up because we don't have anybody to supervise. So now the way this is, it's not required to supervise anyone to move up.
So that's really smart. I think that's great, because we can't help it. We're in small special.
Right.
I don't need to supervise 2 or 3 people.
Right.
So anybody have anything else? We can talk about anything else if people would like, if they have any burning questions.
Denise, remember when I emailed you about the computer, how the instructions said we couldn't, that if it was a work computer, that it'd have full privileges? I just didn't know. I mean, because I did the browser and it worked, and I passed that, like I said, the setup passed. So I would think it should be fine. I haven't ran into anybody else that said that they couldn't use their work computer, that there was a problem.
I used mine, and I had IT
I feel
come
like
in
it
ahead
might
of
be
time.
like the ISE, you know, as long as you can get the browser installed, then you're good.
That's what I was thinking. That's what I assumed. That's what they were.
I
wanting.
think some institutions might not let you even install like a browser for this
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like they might be so restrictive with what you can actually put on your computer. And that might be the
Yeah.
kind of what they're trying to say. Because we've used people's personal computers for the ISE, but we've also used like the workstations in the resident, and we've even used like admin workstations and whatever. So
So I figured if
know.
I had the browser and I did all of the checks for the audio and all that, and it worked, that on the test day, there wouldn't be a reason like that there
Yeah.
wouldn't be pop-ups that would, nothing should prevent
don't
me from
think
using
so.
it, I wouldn't think.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I was telling Stephanie that we use a big computer lab here in our medical school, and they actually, the browser couldn't like make it past their firewall. And so I had to have like the IT person at the med school contact. It wasn't the AUA, I don't think. It was whoever manages the tech part of it for them, and explain to them the whole process. And oh man, it made me such a wreck. And it always works out. The day of, it always ends up working out, but it's still incredibly
Stressful.
anxiety provoking beforehand. Because you certainly don't want to get there, be there the day of, you have everybody there, and then nobody can get onto the computers.
I'll tell you, my life has been easier since we started just doing it like in our conference room and our resident room. And we just have 2 proctors, 1 in each place. And I can set up the workstations ahead of time. And then if they use their own laptops, I send them instructions to put the browser on, and I follow up and make sure you've got the browser on, because you're not going to be able to take the test if you don't. But that's so much easier because our computers in our computer lab, they're not updating them. And so they quit working with the browser. That's why we had to do that the first year. I was freaking out. I'm like, where are we supposed to take the test? And then, I talked to Dr. Moy, and he's like, well, can we just do it like in our conference room? And I'm like, well, it's not big enough for everybody. Well, then let's just do it in the resident suite. We'll have a proctor there, and we'll have a proctor in there. So that's what we do.
Now I wish they'd let us do it like anesthesia started this a couple years before I left, where you had like 4 days that you could administer it. So I didn't have to try to find like APPs or whatever to be on call for them. I could just have like a 1/4 of the group do it one day and a 1/4 of the group do it the other day.
Yeah.
So I kind of wish we could do that, because then it eliminated having that huge group on Saturday morning.
Right. Yeah.
Is everybody feeling good about their ADS updates?
I haven't even started mine.
I've been working on them this week.
Ours are not due until I think the end of August. So I'll be starting it about the middle of August, probably. Unless I get another job and I'm gone. I'm going to leave it to somebody else.
Stephanie, do you think you'll try to stay in GME? You have so much experience and so much knowledge. I hope you're able to find a good home that way.
I am trying to stay in GME, and I am a hope, because I really do like this, what I do. I like working with the residents. So yeah, I'm hoping to, probably not here, because there's actually there are no GME jobs even open right now. I mean, we have quite a few programs, but I would be pretty particular about like not going to certain departments, because I know what they're like and whatever. I have too much inside knowledge that would probably hinder me going to another. I mean, I don't want to jump out of the frying pan into the fire. So anyway, but I'm definitely trying to look for something in GME. So I wish more programs would start offering like remote, because we all know that we can do 90% of our job remotely, maybe more than that. And I would be perfectly willing to travel somewhere a few times a year or something to be there in person for certain events that I needed to be there in person for. But, you know, there's so much of what we do that doesn't require us. And they always say to me, oh, but you know, you wouldn't be there for the residents. I'm like, 90% of the time, all I see is a text from a resident or an email from a resident. I have candy in my office and they come in to maybe get the candy, but they rarely come in just to look for me and talk to me. They're busy. And, you know, I mean, if I happen to take snacks and they're in there, I might say hi to them or whatever, but really there's not a whole lot of in-person action going on. You know, they count on me because they just know that I'll get their answers for them and I'll take care of their problems, and I can do all that from anywhere. And I just feel like for programs, it would offer them the opportunity to have a bigger pool of people, and they would maybe be able to find actual GME people for their residencies instead of just hiring somebody who has never done it and has to have that 2-year learning curve and can't even make it 6 months because they're overwhelmed and they quit. And you've got a revolving door, you know, that happens until you happen on that one person that says, okay, this is for me and I'll stick with it. So it would be nice, but I don't think I've seen a few hybrids when I've been looking. I've seen at least a few hybrids. I haven't seen anything fully remote, but I mean, they're not in places I want to live, so I'm not applying to them. To be honest, I'm only applying to New York hospitals because that's where I want to live. And so New York City hospitals, I should say. So anyway.
Well, thank you, Cody. Don't forget to put
Thank
this
you
on
very
your resume that you did this presentation.
Oh, yeah, and thank y'all for dealing with my technical problems. I mean,
It's not
I
a
have
big
issues
deal.
with everything, so. But thank y'all.
All right.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
See y'all
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Denise.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.